Testing, 1 2 1 2. All right, welcome back to my channel. This video was requested by a uh, who wanted to, get something off his chest. Wanted to talk about police brutality, which is setting the world ablaze as we know it. It is the topic of the decade, pretty much. I don't know what to do with this light, so I'm not gonna. Uh, I don't know what to do with it. Anyway, so police brutality is, still a thing. For those of you who thought that it was gonna go away because they walked, a half a mile with you, they knelt in solidarity, they, agreed with you. They're still the largest gang organization that there is and the most dangerous because they do everything according to the federal law, and if the federal government, you know, doesn't come in and stop them, if all they do is file complaints but never stop them, then guess what? The federal government's on their side. So, if you're seeing the same thing happen over and over again, and the president is well aware of it, and he does zip about it, then guess what? He's on their side. What did he tell them? During while he was running, he told the police, if you have to, when you tuck them into the car, you don't have to be so gentle with them. So, some of you who voted for Trump, you do realize he's not what's going on. You do realize that Trump is not a politician. He is a businessman. That's it. Now, he's obviously doing a lot of good for the country, but that doesn't necessarily mean that has you in mind just because you live here. Okay. He may talk about the unemployment rate and things along that line, but I don't care what no politician talks about. I don't want to hear nothing out of no politician. I don't want to hear we're going to have more talks about police brutality. I'm done with it. I'm done. Not talking about it no more. We're not talking. We're done talking. You guys want to sit down and talk. Nobody wants to talk anymore. You made a mockery of us talking. It's a joke to you. Oh, they'll calm down, they'll go right. And then the same thing happens. You're not doing anything. Dude, this is what we want. We want something done, but we've been wanting something done. So, and the more we want something done, the more violence happens to us. There was a black man hung a couple days ago. He was 24 years old, and he was hung pretty much left out where everybody could see him. And people drove past and saw him, and then called, the police. And the coroner said it appears to be a suicide. They did my friend the same way here this year. Young man is about 20 something years old, and he was a Black Lives Matter leader. And he was found dead out on the state lawn in front of, so everybody could see him. And his, some nonsense was written in his Twitter. And they did his friend, who was a Black Lives Matter leader, female, speaking out against police brutality. They found her floating down the river, found her car near the river, and they said she committed suicide. And for the record, people, just for the record, black people usually don't commit suicide. Okay, genocide, yeah. Suicide, no, because they have a fear of God. Okay, they have a fear of going to hell if they commit suicide. All right, so it's just the way we were brought up. Black people don't usually commit suicide. It just it's not a way for us to express anything. It just doesn't usually happen, especially at that age when you have so much going for you. We know these people didn't commit suicide. We know this. We know this young man who was hung didn't commit suicide. We know it. And God knows all. And for those of you who have no fear of God, I don't know what to tell you anymore because we're done praying for you. We prayed for you. You killed, we prayed. You killed, we prayed. Because God told us to pray for you. Pray for your enemies. But you just keep doing the same thing. And now here we have another case where a 27-year-old man was shot and killed 3 days ago or so. And he was they called the police on him because he was sitting, I believe, at a Burger King or something like that, and he was asleep in his car. What's going on, Copper Truth? And he was asleep in his car, and they called the police. And when they called the police, there was a 20-minute exchange between them, and of course, the cops asked you to get out of your car. And then it boiled down to a wrestling match, and there was a 2-on-1, and the guy got away from the police officers, and he started running, and they were trying to tase him. And as they were trying, one was chasing him very close to him. He was trying to tase him and stop him, which is correct. And the other one followed suit and drew his pistol and shot the man several times. 27 years old, fell asleep at a Burger King, and is dead today. We've seen this before. We saw where Willie, he was a rapper in Memphis or something like that. He fell asleep in his vehicle, and the police executed him. Said they were in fear of their life because he had a gun. They didn't say because he pointed it at him. They said he had a gun. And, there was a video of it, and he's asleep, and, he doesn't know what's going on. The man's sound asleep, and he starts moving, and there's a gun right there. And they're like, if he goes for it, we're going to, shoot him. And they're trying to wake him up. And then they say the verbal command of murder this person, which is he's reaching. And they said he's reaching and open fired as if he was a pig or something. And the man never knew what hit him. I'm only hoping that he died in his sleep. He was only 22 years old. We've seen it over and over and over and over again. And we are very aware that even though America has been set on fire, has been set ablaze, there has been mass looting and all kind of crime. Hey, what's going on? There has been all kind of heinous crimes committed, all in the name of police brutality because of George Floyd. We see that none of that matters. I am well. How are you? We are aware that none of that matters. All the things that everyone did, all the looting and all the parading down the street, all the yelling and screaming, all the getting hit with tear gas and getting ran over by horses and all of that. And I told you guys a week ago, stop protesting. Stop it. It's not going to do any good. I made videos saying just because they walked with you doesn't mean it's going to change anything. And it changed nothing. Nothing. All they did was bring out the U.S. military, and it got worse. The U.S. military were putting holes in people's tires. They don't care, people. They don't care. They want you to throw rocks. They want you to say, screw the police. They want you to put holes in banks and windows, and they want all this. Yeah, come on. Because the more you do, the more they can do to you. And that's it, and that's all. They need a reason to use their guns. That's what they're looking for. A reason. Give us a reason to try our new weapons out on you. They got weapons that you've never seen before. They got weapons that use sound. They could release uh, uh, any number of gas agents in a crowd, and there'll be hundreds and thousands of deaths in no time. Or they could release a gas and it could be latent, and they can just blame it all on social distancing. You weren't social distancing, so you all got sick suddenly at the same time in the same area, and they do stuff like this. You are up against a monster, and they're up against the American people, and it's us and them, and that's it, and that's all. The killing is not going to stop, people, and I really don't know what to say except America is at war. America is at war. We are at war. Caesar has brought his army home, and Legionnaire has been released on the Roman people. The Praetorians have been released on the Roman people. We've seen it all over and over and over again. And we know what came after that. They were invaded. They were invaded. And to say that we're not going to be invaded would be just ridiculous if we didn't hold a foothold, if we didn't have a foothold. But if America eats itself up alive, listen, there might not be an America left. And that's exactly what's happening, people. We are repeating history that happened some 2,000 years ago. We're repeating it. Some kid crying. The Caesars set their own city on fire. The president doesn't care. The police officers that killed George Floyd, one of them has been let go because he paid $750,000 for bail. You only have to, if it's depends on what kind of bail he paid, he only had to pay 10% of it. Who said he had to pay all that? He just walked right out of jail. I'm sure he didn't pay $750,000. I'm damn sure he didn't. And who's to say the other three aren't going to do the same thing? They don't care, people. I've seen this over and over again. I saw one time where a police officer killed a man and only had to pay $50,000. He got right out same day. And of course, he didn't have to pay the whole $50,000. It's a good chance he only paid five, if that. We are at war. Just like the Bible says, we're at war. And I don't know if there is a place to hide. I was telling people, go to Texas so you can be near the border. And when it hits the fan, you can just dip out the country. Not even sure you can do that now. I'm just not. I don't think there's a place where we can run to get away from the system that we live in, that we help build. We're lab rats. They're just playing with us. And it's a shame. But yeah, the only thing you can do, I mean, listen, all of us aren't going to leave the planet because of this. It just isn't going to happen. So there is preparations for survival. Depends on how much money you have, how many connections you have, and where it all begins. If you're living in a city, then, you know, if you're living in the inner city, you're going to have it the worst. If you're living on the outskirts, then it's a good chance you can get away from most of what's going to go down. And I say that because most police brutality happens in the inner cities. I mean, it's pretty much, you can pretty much tell where it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not in those high volatile areas, then that's already a good thing. But if you can get away from them, get away from them. It's all self-preservation. Don't believe that the police are I don't care what they look like. They have a video of this little girl who saw a police car and the woman police was in it. And when she saw the police car, she immediately put her hands up. She couldn't have been no older than 8. And the police lady gets out the car and walks over to her and she says, "We're not all bad." And she's like, "I'm sorry." And the little girl's standing there crying. And she's scared as hell. And there's not one word that white woman could say to her to make her stop crying because she knows the reality. You don't all need to be bad. All the police don't need to be bad, but the organization is bad. It's not made for the people. And everyone realizes this. It's a huge awakening. This wasn't made for us. This was made to corral us. This was made to control us, but it was not made in our favor. And that little 8-year-old girl knows this. She knows it. She knows it from losing loved ones, friends, family. She knows it. She's seen people getting dragged off and taken away and never returned home. She's heard about it. Her friends have seen it. It's not a secret. It's not something that they talk about in hiding. It's something that their parents and their her friends' parents talk about in open because everybody knows it's happening. Everyone, there's no sense of hiding it, and it's happening at such a wide spread rate. And it's just you can't hide that from your child. You can't say, you know what, they're not looking for you. They are. Little girls are getting arrested and going to jail. Little girls, little 8-year-old girls are getting handcuffed. Damn handcuffs can't even fit around their little damn wrist and being taken to jail. It has happened. Little girls dead from bullet holes from police officers, and police take no responsibility. None. Oh, my hand slipped on the, and then this is what they tried to say when Chicago police shot that boy when they raided the wrong house. Went in his room and shot him. Or that 4-year-old boy in I think it was I don't think it was in Detroit. They killed his mother, then and they shot him. He was 4. He's still alive. His mother was Gaines. SWAT team rolled up and blew her away. You know why? Because she didn't have a license plate on her car and she refused to pay the ticket. Now, the federal government said that you don't have to register your car. They said it was immoral or something like that. I would pull it up, but one of you guys will probably pull it up and read it. This is what the federal government said. So you can actually go to court and, you know, go through the court system and find out that you're right. You don't have to register your car. But they gave her a ticket and she's like, I'm not going to court over this ticket. It's ridiculous. And of course, a warrant goes out. Well, she's known to be uh, disliking the police. They're running with her. They took her keys out her car. They're not supposed to be reaching in your car. That's private property. You know, scared her kids. And she's just like, no, I don't have to have. And she was correct. You don't. What they should have did was gave her a ticket and that was it. But they did all this extra stuff just to scare her. There's a video of it. And of course, her being angry, she goes home and she had already made a video of her with a shotgun to protect herself, which she has the right to protect herself, just like anybody else. And so when they went to her house, they assumed that she had a shotgun, but she did not have a shotgun. That video was shot like a week before time, before they even went there. So she didn't even have it. And they busted in and, murdered her and shot her kid. Her name was Gaines. And then the police didn't even want the family to see the child at the hospital. They blocked them from seeing the child. Police brutality is not a secret. It's not, it is a culture. It is a way of life. It is deep seated and deep rooted in the America's bloody history. And there will be more. There will be more of it. There will be more people's lives lost simply out of hatred. Out of hatred. The best thing you can do is stay off the streets. Stop protesting. Don't loot anything. Don't burn anything. Get off the streets and prepare yourself for the war that is already started. You have the right to protect yourself by any means necessary. Get your food going on before they cut that off. Extra batteries, medicines, and things along that line. And stay vigilant, stay alert, stay alive. Don't try to take on every battle. Walk away if you can. If the police are near you, get away from them. Do not seek them out and do not try to contact them if you don't have to. Do not get in a conversation with them. They are not your friend. Don't do it. Don't think because you are the you who you are that the police aren't going to put you 6 feet under, because you're not important. You're just not. You're not important to them. Not unless they want to use you for more propaganda. You're not important. They don't care about you. You're not. Nobody cares how much money you got. Nobody cares that, you believe in Jesus. Nobody cares how many Hail Marys you've done. Nobody cares. The police don't care about how many children you have, who your husband or your wife is. Nobody cares. None of that is important. What's important is self-preservation. And if you get in contact with them and you start a conversation with them, just realize that conversation can go south at any given moment. And we've seen it time and time again where the person who called the police ends up dying by the police. Seen it over and over and over and over and over again. We've seen random people just shot and killed, like the army soldier in the mall. Had nothing to do with anything. Cop just came in and shot him because somebody in there had a gun, and he was a U.S. military, serving in the U.S. military, and he had a registered firearm, legally registered, and the cop thought it was him and killed him and did no time. Just murdered him like it was nothing and zero responsibility. The man served his country and got murdered. Listen, there's no boundaries that they won't cross. They're not your friends. Get away from them. Don't talk to them. Don't go around them. Don't think that they're your buddies. We've seen protesters telling them that they love the police, and the protesters still got put in jail. I love you, man. You blah, 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 blah. Went, snatched him, put him in jail. I don't know what else to tell you people. Is wake up. They're not your friends. They get you down there in that room and start talking soft to you. Let them know, look, I know you're not my friend. This is not going to go my way. I already know it. So I want a lawyer if there's one available. And if they keep trying to make you talk, do not talk to them. I'm giving you a chance to talk to me now, blah, blah, blah. You no, you're giving me a chance to hang myself. You're giving me a chance to incriminate myself. I would like to talk to an attorney. That's it. That's it. Unless they ask you to, if you were a witness to something. And that's very sketchy too. Because we've seen people who have nothing to do with whatever happened and they end up getting hemmed up. We've seen people just driving down the street and they end up getting shot by the police. If you don't believe that happened, look at the Chris Dorner situation. Chris Dorner went and shot the LA cops because he was an LA cop. And look what happened. The police opened fired on a truck they said looked like his. There were two black women in it. And they shot both of them. They shot the one woman on the passenger side. Chris Dorner was a huge black man. He doesn't look like a woman. But they were angry, so they just wanted to kill some black people. Liam Neeson. They were like, oh, any black person to do. So they shot up these women, black women. Like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, your truck looked like his. So what? They're not your friends. They're not going to shake your hand and all of a sudden they love you. There is justice, and that's it. That's your relationship with a police officer. That's it. If there's a situation, tell them whatever, boom, handle the situation, take their card, boom, be out. In the conversation and be out. You're not having dinner. We're not going and watching the football game. No, none of that. Because they are highly, 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 highly dangerous. Even the good ones, you just don't know. That guy who just got shot in the back, one cop pulls a taser and is tasing him while he's running. The other one pulls his revolver. Of course, not a revolver now, but pulls his gun and kills him. They both have the same uniform on. You don't know who's the good cop. You don't know who's the bad cop. You don't. Murdered him like it was nothing. like he didn't matter. Just murder him with no remorse. Just blah blah blah. Yeah, it's 7 Mary 3. We got another one down. What that one cop say after he murdered the guy that he shot on the side of the road? He said, "I got one." That's what he said. He called it in and he said, "I got one." That's what it is. I got one. Got one. Remember, people, not too long ago, they used to hang us and cut off our penis. They cut off our fingers. They cut off our toes and pickle them and leave them in a jar and put them on the mantle. It's a trophy. This wasn't that long ago. It was the 1800s into the 1900s. It's not that long ago. Okay, let's quit acting like it didn't happen. Stop acting like Rosewood didn't happen. Stop acting like uh freaking Black Wall Street didn't happen. Black Wall Street, you know why everybody is mad at the white women who won't shut their damn mouth, who want to call the police on everything? You know why they're upset about that? Because of you got situations like Black Wall Street in Oklahoma, a thriving black community, had all their stuff, was separated. Was just like, okay, whites were over here, blacks were over here, and that's the way they kept it. So they said some white woman said one of the black men said something to her, and the white people went crazy. 3,000 people missing and dead. 3,000 black people missing and dead. They tore Rosewood up. They tore Black Wall Street up. Seneca Village. Seneca Village was actually where the New York, or what is Central Park? I think it is. I think it's Central Park, where the population was 240 people. 75% of those people were African American. The other 25% were Irish, white people. Well, it was Seneca Village was a thriving um little, I guess, small town. You know, it was building itself up. It was getting some notoriety. And then, the mayor or whoever of New York, whoever, I don't know, came in and used public domain and took it right off from under them and told them they all had to move like right now. And of course, that was during a time of depression. So you just made all these people homeless. They didn't say you have to move tomorrow. They was like, all of you have to move right now. And then they, buried the whole village pretty much and built a park over it that people walk around on, right now, and they're completely oblivious that these people were homeless. Public domain. Look it up, Seneca Village. The stuff we're seeing now has been going on, and all this political correctness is thrown out the window whenever a policeman walks up to your door and says, "Can I see your driver's license?" They, that's it. It's their way or the highway. And you can know as many laws as you want to. Doesn't matter. There are procedure laws. In my case, it's the ORC, which is the Ohio Revised Code. I could read that back and forth and be a lawyer and know the whole thing. It doesn't matter. If I don't do what they say, they have the power to kill me. And that's it. And get away with it. Tamir Rice was killed in 2 seconds because he had a fake gun, and the police officers drove right up to where he was actually playing, wasn't even on the road, and shot this kid in Cleveland. Just blew him away. He was 13 or something like that. Just blew him away like he wasn't even there. Just nothing. Just open fired on him. Up a black person with a gun, kill him. Just shot him. Didn't say drop the weapon. No, nothing. Just killed him. That officer is now well, he was fired, but now he's a police officer in somewhere else in Ohio. So he just got a job as a cop. We've seen that over and over again. We've seen the Eric Garner case where those police officers, they're still police officers. They just go from one precinct to the other. They commit murder, 100%. Bloody murder. They took a man's life and it was just like blowing their nose. They are not your friends. They don't care about your loved ones. They're not here to celebrate African Americanism. They don't care about your kids graduating. They don't care about your wife's second child, her birthday. None of that means nothing when they walk up to your window and say driver's license and registration. Driving while black is a bigger fear now than it ever was. And that was a thing in New Jersey. But it's even bigger now than it ever was. But some of you are not going to get this through your head. See, I respect the police because of the power that's given to them, and I can't do much about it. So I gotta respect it. I have to. I'm forced to. I don't know any of them personally. I don't care to. They do their job. I'm okay. Leave me alone. I don't go out and break the law. You know what I'm saying? I don't look to be accosted by police because I don't do anything. I I mind my business. I'm a professional at minding my damn business. But I'm also a big black man. So the chances of me being stopped by one just because of that is still higher than most people. And I have got stopped just because I'm a black man. That's it. And a cop told me, yes, because you're a black guy. I mean, they're not hiding it. You know what I'm saying? I've got followed, all that, followed home to my house, harassed every day coming home from work simply because I'm a black man. I did absolutely nothing wrong. Sitting outside of my house, harassing me the whole night. They're not my friends. They have beat it into me that it's not possible for a police officer to be my friend. They have let me know year after year after year after year after year. It's not possible for them to be my friend. And I had to call one out, you know, a couple months ago because of some stuff on the internet. And she was a cool person. She was cool, but she's not my friend. She was a cool person though. She's not my friend. You know, I don't look at her and go, yeah, we're cool now. Not as long as she has the right to gun me down in the middle of a Walmart and walk away like nothing ever happened. And I use that example because it happened right here in the Walmart down the street. A man, father of one, he was in there, a young guy. I don't even think he was 30. And Walmart was selling little BB guns or whatever they were. And one of them looked like an AR-15, one of the little pellet guns or whatever. And he picked one up and he was like, I want to buy it, which you're allowed to do. And he put it on his shoulder and he went shopping for whatever else. And some dumbass white person called the police and said there's a black man in here with a gun. Well, these two white officers showed up and they also had AR-15s, but theirs were real. And they saw the man with it. He didn't even have it in his hand. He still have it holstered. And they shot him and didn't say anything to him. They didn't say put the weapon down. They didn't say police. They didn't identify themselves. They said gun. That's what they said. And then act like they saved Walmart from a menace to society when they just killed some little girl's father who was completely oblivious to the fact that you cannot have a fake gun as an adult. You can't as a black man. Tamir Rice didn't know his fake gun would end his life. If you have a fake gun on you, then the police have the right to shoot you in fear of their life without asking any questions. And they're supposed to ask the question. The man that was shot 3 days ago, or please be aware that you are police. Let me see this. Please be aware that as you speak, police is terrorizing and killing black men somewhere in America right now. Oh, I'm completely aware. 100%. But see, even this conversation, if a cop listened to this conversation, this isn't going to shock them. They aren't going to go another person that's talking about us and us being terrorists because everyone is talking about them being terrorists. Everyone. Old white women who never thought they'd have this conversation. Everyone. Asians, Indians, everyone saw Minneapolis go up in flames. Everyone saw people marching in France and in Europe and right, sure I am. France and Europe and all kind of, in all these other countries. Everyone saw Asians come out and, talking about defunding the police. Everyone saw this. I'm speaking pure facts. Everyone saw this. So it's not like this conversation is in hiding. It's not like they're in hiding. They're terrorizing America. And it's more than just America. This the most for one, I don't hate white people. I don't like white people that don't like me. Other than that, I don't really care. I do business all the time with white folks every day. And I'm okay. They don't. I've only had one run in with a white person. And you guys know about that because I made a video about it. So I don't have issues with white people. I don't. It would be foolish of me and for my little hustle that I do to have issues with the people who supply me with, you know, the stuff I need to, make my little bit of scratch. That would be counter what is it, counterproductive. It would be counterproductive. I ain't got no issue with white people, man. I used to date a white woman. I done dated a few of them. I don't anymore. I don't date anyone, but so I can't even be that person. But the most dangerous person on the planet is a white male. Listen, the police. Okay, I'll say this: white people have been treating me like white people lately. I mean, I feel like my credit score is in the 700s. I mean, they've been treating me like white people. I've been on this planet for 52 plus years, and I've never been treated like a white person. And it feels outer worldly. I have to look in the mirror and be like, I am still a dark skinned male. White people have been treating me like white people. I mean, it's just it hurts, but it's so beautiful. Like, why couldn't we always do this? Why? Because we can't. Because there's no money in peace. There's money in hatred and blood. You know what I'm saying? There's no money in peace. It's money in war. But white people are treating me like white people, and I appreciate it. I go to the store. Hey, how you doing today? I'm well, doggone it. I'm doing great. How are you? Well, just fine. How can I help you today? I'm like, shoot, I'll take a bag of Skittles and one of my iced teas over there you got, bro. All right, that'll be 3.45. But there you go. Would you like your receipt? I think I'm good. All right, we'll have a great day and we'll see you again soon. All right. Feels weird. But see, they're starting to treat me like that. It's not because they're afraid of me. White people are not afraid of black people. White people are afraid of white people. That's who they're afraid of. Because the white male, especially a young, entitled white male, will tear up a whole neighborhood by himself and has no fear of anything. Doesn't fear being shot. If anything, he fears an ass whooping. And if he's strong and fast enough, he's not even going to get that. An entire white male is highly dangerous. And don't fool around and get one that's been into the military. Some young 25-year-old just came home from tour. Who's going to compete with him? Who? You going to put him in court? Try it. Try just getting him in the courtroom and see what happens. And see how fast he gets up out of that courtroom and laughs at you while he's doing it. Why? Because he just went and spilled blood in the name of the country. And you got some issue with him? Good luck with that. Good luck. They are the most dangerous people on the planet. They will tear up a whole neighborhood like it's nothing. White people aren't afraid of black people. Black people just want peace and color TVs. Black people just want peace. And black people wanted war. Even with our small numbers, we would have been tore up. Somebody said, look, another guy just got hung. If you guys are going to start the race war, go ahead and start it. Black people are not interested in starting a race war. We're interested in going to work and coming home safely. Not interested in going to war with you. That's your thing. We don't want no part of going to war with you. Listen, even if the numbers were flip-flop, black people are not interested in going to war with you. We're not. Never once have I met a group of guys who said, you know what? I'm interested in going to war with the white folks. You're not. I've met some who are like, if this keeps up, we're going to go to war. And I completely understand that. 100%. But there's none that I know of that's just like, let's go to war with the white people. Never came out of not one person I know's mouth. And I know some militant brothers, but never once have they said that. You know why? Because they're not interested. They're not. They're not. And you get some of these organized, there's some organization, these guys on YouTube talking about, confronting the mayor and all that with weapons. And I'm like, good luck with that. Good luck with that. See what happens. You're not going to be here long. What do you think? You're going to become a political prisoner? They're not going to waste the jail space. They're going to toast you, and then they're going to leave your body out in front of wherever they shot you, or they might drag you outside and just leave you there as an example. Just like Michael Brown, they'll just leave you there for 2 hours. They left Michael Brown they just left him there for everyone to watch and know what has happened. Call an ambulance now. They don't call no ambulance. George, listen, when they called the ambulance for George Floyd, the ambulance didn't show up. Those people who put George Floyd in, that wasn't EMT. They were other cops. Look at the video. It wasn't EMT who showed up. Oh, let's show up and save this guy's life. They showed up, threw him in the back of the truck, and peeled. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's why the nation went off. Like, oh no. Oh no. There's got to be a reckoning. I'm trying to tell you, they're not your friend. They've been harassing and doing heinous crimes to my family since I've been here. And no matter how much the white people treat me like white people, the police will always look at me the same. I'll always be a statistic to them. Even some of the, I'm not going to say good police, but police who just want to be cops. Some of the cops who just like, look, I'm just a cop. Just what I am. I'm not here to do any harm to anyone. I'm just a cop. It's the profession I chose. My dad was a cop. And that whole thing going. I worked at a factory. I worked at a factory. My dad worked at a car factory. I ended up working at a car factory. My dad went into the military. I went into the military. I mean, I understood. Just some things are in the family, and that's just what you do. I understand that. I don't think every cop is bad, but the organization is terrible. That's just that. So we can't look at the police and decipher who just murdered somebody, or if we're gonna get murdered. We can't. You can't look at the cops and do that. You can't look at the cops and tell who's going to have an intelligible conversation about the law, if they're going to follow the law, because they're not following the law. You can quote them the written law and tell them the statute, and it's not going to matter. Like, yo, you can't do that according to statute. La 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 la. What you're doing is wrong. It's not going to matter. Get out of the car. Put your hands behind your back. Yo, am I being detained? Get out of the car. You already know when they repeat the question, it's over. What they're doing is illegal. That is kidnapping. They roll up on you, ask you for your driver's license and registration, and you say, "What did I do?" And then they repeat, "Give me your driver's license and your registration." If you say, "What did I do?" again, their voice is going to get louder. And then they're going to ask you a question: Are you refusing to give me your driver's license? And of course, you're going to say, "No, I just want to know what you're here for. Driver's license and registration. I'm not going to tell you again." And quit acting like I'm making this up, because we've seen it. We've seen it. I saw a video where a man was with his woman, and he asked the police officer, "What did he do?" And a cop repeated, "Driver's license and registration," while he had his hand on his gun. He had just walked up to him. Driver's license and registration, hand on his gun. He's like, "What did I do?" He's like, "I need to see your driver's license and registration." He's like, "Okay, fine. But You're supposed to tell me what I did first. And he was like, are you going to show me your driver? He was like, yes, please tell me what I did. And the officer asked him again for his driver's license and registration. And then he tore his window off and dragged the guy out of the car. All on video. And the man was in the right. The citizen was in the right. The procedure is no matter where you're at, when a police officer stops you, he comes up to the car, he's supposed to tell you why he or she stopped you. That's the law. You can't just go around that. That is the law. I stopped. I committed an infraction according to you. I stopped. I didn't flee. And you're supposed to follow the procedure just like I am. The procedure is I see those lights. I know that you're flagging me. I stop the car in a safe place. You get out the car, you come in and you ask for my driver's license registration, and you tell me, actually, you're supposed to tell me first and then ask for my driver's license registration. You're supposed to say, hello, how you doing? Do you know why I stopped you? And you say, no, this is why I stopped you. And then they tell you what the deal was. You have something obstructing your view. You have a blown tail light, yada, yada, yada. And then driver's license and registration. And you're like, okay, driver's license, registration. Then they ask you a whole slew of questions that some of them are just simply, they're not supposed to be asking you that. Not unless it's obvious. But some of them are setup questions. So when's the last time you've been drinking? I didn't say I was drinking. So when's the last time you smoked marijuana? We saw a video where the cop asked this man 5 times that same question. So when's the last time you smoked marijuana? He kept doing it like it was subliminal. And the guy was telling him, he says, I don't smoke weed. And then he would ask him a bunch of other stuff, have a conversation. So when's the last time you smoked marijuana? He did that and he said, I'm telling you, I don't. Why do you keep asking me the same question? I don't smoke weed. Trying to trip him up. I mean, I didn't make this stuff up. I've seen it on video. It's right there for everyone to see. These are questions to trip you up. And one guy was stopped, him, his wife, and kid, and the officer said, we asked him for his driver's license registration, and he asked him what he did, and the officer said, someone said that you were smoking a bowl. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You stopped me on the highway because someone said that I was smoking a bowl. You stopped me because someone said. So this is so vague that I can't even confront my accuser. What do you mean somebody who said I'm doing 70 on the highway? Somebody said that I was smoking a bowl with my wife and kid in the car. My kid, 4 years old, in the back seat. I'm smoking marijuana. I'm smoking a bowl. My kid's in the back seat. And yet you don't smell no marijuana. If I was smoking a bowl, how am I smoking a bowl and I'm driving? Please explain that to me. Not I'm smoking cigar weed, a Lucy. I'm smoking a freaking bowl. Don't y'all gotta do? I don't know how to smoke a bowl, but I think it's a 2-hand deal, isn't it? That's what he said. That's what the cop said. Someone said you were smoking a bowl. He's talking to the driver from the passenger side. And then he looks in the back seat, sees the kid, and asked about the seatbelt. So he gives him a ticket for the seatbelt. Nobody said he was smoking a bowl. The guy was driving a Hellcat. and Hellcats get stopped because they're pretty much race cars. And he was black. And that was that. So, people, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm just telling you what I've seen because it's very real that they're breaking the law. It's very real that there are stretches of highways where black people are being pulled over and the police are illegally searching their cars. And if they find money, the police keep the money. And they're telling the people, like, yo, you can't, and they're telling the people, when they say, yo, why are you keeping my money? And like, because this is a high drug trafficking area. And one guy was like, well, I'm a business owner. Me and my dad own a business. And they tell you he had 10 grand on him. He's like, well, we're going to keep the money. And, this is the court system you go to, the blah, 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 blah. So they stole his money. They stole his money. And they're doing this constantly, stealing people's money. And so he had to go and, of course, get a lawyer and all that just to get the money back. And the police actually told one guy, they were just like, well, you want your money back, you're going to have to get a lawyer and it's going to cost you blah, blah, blah. So they're basically saying, just let us keep it. They're stealing from the people who they're supposed to be protecting, saying that we're doing this to slow down the drug trafficking in an area. The people you're stopping aren't even drug traffickers. You're not stopping drug traffickers. You're not. You and the corny judge and all you people, you're thieves. This is the mafia. That's what that is. That is the 100% mafia. That is thievery 101. And you can't do anything about it. They're just taking your dough and bouncing. That's it. Even if you're hiding, listen, they had these two truck drivers who were Hispanic, right? And they were moving something. It was legitimate, whatever they were moving. But the police stopped them and they saw that they could barely speak English. And when the police stopped them, they searched their truck, which you need a warrant to do that. But they didn't have a warrant. You know what I'm saying? But they went and searched their truck. And then they had them standing outside, and the police were saying, so where's the money at? They said, listen, we don't care what you're hauling. We just want to know where the money is. That's really what we're after. And you're just telling them, so where's the money? We know you guys have money here. Where's it at? They're stealing people's money. They're stealing them. They're stealing it. They're just stealing people's money and then saying, hey, you get it back if you can. You got to hire a lawyer. And so the guys, they were just standing there like, we're not telling you. And of course, the cop is trying to soft talk them. Listen, guys, we're just, yeah, we understand. We understand. This is our job. You're just doing your job. I mean, it's totally cool. You guys can, get back in your truck, go home. We're just tell us where the money is. We're just gonna take it, and it's gonna be down at the county, and yada yada yada. And then finally, they tell them because they want to go home, want to go home to their families. Now you know that not only the police lie at the time, but they also steal without any concern. This is true. This is true. One person said that I'm biased. I'm just stating the facts. This is just the facts. I mean, I'm not making up these stories. This is happening all over the country. It's not a it's not a myth. It's not like a chupacabra or something like that. This is not a mermaid. This is not the Loch Ness monster. This is the truth. We have numbers to confirm what these police officers are doing. You had the one police officer who was arresting people for meth, which is usually a white crime. Crack cocaine, black people; methamphetamines, white people, right? So the police officer stops this woman driving a truck, a little pickup, whatever, stops her, gets her out the car, talking all nice to her. He's big 6'4" with the belly, talking nice to her, tells her to get out the car, puts her on the side of the car and like in front of his car, but in the back of the truck, and then goes and searches her car. Well, he searches her car and he finds nothing, but he pulls, something out, and he comes back to her and goes, "What's this? What's this powdery substance that people their lives over?" And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is." So he takes it and he, goes to he's like, "Okay, just a minute." Goes to the back of his truck or his car, pulls out this kit, does this little thing, comes back and says, "Well, it tested positive for cocaine, so you're going to jail." Excuse me? It tested positive for who? This lady's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So she calls her family, come to get the truck. She's like, "Well, I'm going to jail for, meth, or whatever." She's like, "No idea what this officer's talking about." Turns out that officer was the criminal and is in jail as we speak because he was doing this over and over again and it was all a lie. I mean, it's one guy that he arrested broke down in tears when he said that he had meth. And then the cop tried to coerce people to admit that they had meth. He's like, "So when's the last time you done meth?" "Man, I ain't never done no meth." "Well, I mean, it's clear that you have it here." He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't take my truck. I got to go to work, blah, blah, blah." This little white, this older, this guy had to be like 50. He's crying. He's distraught because he's never done meth. He don't even know what meth looks like. He's just trying to go home with his family. They arrested him. They took him to jail. And now it's on your BCI record. And for those of you who don't know, if you go and get your record expunged, it does not expunge your BCI record. That is a federal record. Anything that you've done that's on your BCI, if you get indicted for a felony, that is on your BCI record and it's not coming off. And that's it. And that's that. This is a way that they were disenfranchising black people. They would arrest them and then they would over indict them, trying to make one indictment stick. But it really didn't matter because if they arrested you for a felony, regardless of what the felony is, that's enough for people to look up your record and say, "Nope, we're not hiring you because you're a criminal." Like, what are you talking about? You went to jail for this. This is like, I was indicted for something I didn't do. Doesn't matter. You're indicted. See you later. So you got mostly men who can't get particular jobs. They can't work for the city. They can't work for the state. They can't work for the federal government because all of these places pull up your BCI record. So there goes all these good jobs that you could have had. You're qualified for BCI record because you were over indicted for something that you did not do. It has happened time and time again. So you're working in some crappy warehouse, you know, busting your whole ass for pennies on a dollar. And they're harassing you and treating you like you ain't nothing when you should be working for, working for the state or working for the federal government because you're smart. You should be making 60, 70, 80 grand. You're making 12 bucks an hour, maybe, in a temp position. You just work for that couple days, then you're unemployed again, and you're supposed to be grateful. No, not grateful. This has happened over and over and over again. It's all the truth. Yep. So, like I said, my only suggestion to you guys, being that the killing is still at large, is to do your best to stay away from the police. I mean, if you see him, just don't do what Johnny Gray did because it killed him. Don't take off and run. Just simply don't engage. They walk up to you and, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Nope, I'm on my way. They want to crack jokes with you, just and keep walking, keep your pace. They'll get the point. That person does not want to talk to me. I saw another video where these guys were at their house and the cops were walking up and down the street. One of them turned and walked right up his driveway. He was just like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I just come to talk to you guys for a minute." He said, "We don't want to talk to you." No, sir. You with your tactical uniform on, coming in. Nah, we don't want to talk to you. I don't talk to you at all. We have nothing to talk about, Mr. Tactical Uniform. Hell no. Nah. Because we know all you have to do is blow the whistle, and there's going to be 30 more of you here beating up everybody, just beating up the whole family, and then hashing it out when you get to the courtroom, and then none of you cops did anything wrong, while me and my family members are all bloodied up, and our house is completely ramshacked, windows broken, everything costing us thousands of dollars, and you go home and eat tabbouleh salad with Linda. Oh hell no, bro. Nah, get the off my pavement. Get the hell away from me. Nah, I don't want to talk to you ever, ever. It is what it is. So prepare yourself the best way you can. If you do have to engage, be nice. Be nice. They're human. Be nice. You just don't know what kind of human. You don't know. And since you don't know, you're just getting the benefit of the doubt if you have to engage with them. Other than that, avoid the police. I would almost go so far as to say, a light jog wouldn't hurt anybody. Just a light. Avoid them. 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 Just avoid them. Don't go to where they are. Avoid them. If you can, don't call them. You get into it with someone. I've had to call them recently twice. But now that I think about it, I probably didn't. Well, the one I had to call because I got a knife drawn on me and I got punched in the face. And I like the getting punched in the face part. And then when I went to retaliate, they drew a knife. I was all for getting punched in the face. Felt great. Come on, hit me. Hit me because I'm about to rip one of your limbs off. And they kind of got that picture, so they pulled a knife on me. So is that a question? Is that a question, Tony Godley? I'm gonna assume that it is. And yeah, okay. Well, okay, so all right. Let me get a little sweet cranberry juice here because mandatory vaccination has already, like, this is not new. This is not new. And this is part of an agenda. Okay, so if you have a child and your child is in school, that child has to be vaccinated. That's it. If you don't vaccinate your child can't come to school here. It's the same thing with daycare. It's the same thing with some jobs. If you work at a hospital, you have to be vaccinated in order to stay at work at the hospital. So, mandatory vaccination is in full effect. It is it's six one way, half dozen the other. So let's just say now this is before COVID-19. So let's just say that the flu, influenza, kills 5,000 people a year, right? These are the numbers we've been hearing. 5,000 people a year, or whatever it is. So influenza, the symptoms pretty much come around. For one, let's do this. When you're not catching the flu, you're not catching the cold, you and then every year you caught a cold. No, you catch the cold once, and that's it. And it hides in your spinal column, and that's where it stays. What happens is the symptoms of the cold, of the flu, that's what you're actually fighting. So when you go and get yourself Claritin, or when you go and get yourself any type of, antihistamine and yada yada yada, you're fighting the actual symptom. You're not fighting, the actual disease. You're fighting the symptoms. So let's get this straight. This is why every year, you have the same thing happen to you, because that's when it pops up. Case in point, let's do this. When you hit my age and older, you are in higher risk of getting not the measles, the shingles, very painful. Shingles actually come from the chicken pox. It's the same thing. But what happens is when you get the chicken pox and then they go away, the chicken pox do not go away. The symptoms go away. The chicken pox are still in your system. And then when you get older, your immune system is not the same as it used to be. It's, less and less. So the less your immune system is performing, the more these viruses that are in your system and been with you for years can pop up and affect you. All right. So you have so when you look at influenza and you're going, okay, somebody starts sneezing, boom, common cold starts going around, boom, the symptoms start, showing up, and then somebody has the flu, they have the fever and all that, and they go home and and try to take care of that. Then somebody else pops up with it, and somebody else, whatever the vaccination is for that, it can jump from one person to the other to the other to the other. And for some people who haven't even had it, they come in close contact, but the fact that it kills 5,000 people a year is the major concern. It does kill people. Influenza will kill you. And so, because that is such a risk, they're saying you need to take this vaccination. That is understandable to a point. The problem is this is America. So when you're telling somebody they have to do America, you are cutting right into, I don't know what amendment it is, but freedom of something. All right. I don't know what amendment it is, but I'm sure there's an amendment out there. You're cutting right into somebody's freedom when you're saying you have to do this. Now that used to be a lawsuit, but now it's like if you want to work here in a private industry and or for the state, wherever it is, you want to work here, you have to get vaccinated. It's understandable, but this also creates an opportunity for somebody like Bill and Melinda Gates and the WHO, which they run, because Bill and Melinda Gates own the rights to COVID 19's cure. I'll say that again just in case you guys might have missed it. Bill Gates owns the right to COVID 19's cure. He owns the patent to it. Do we have a cure for COVID 19? How do you own a patent for something that we don't have a cure to? If you don't believe me, look it up. So when this cure comes out and it's widely distributed, there will be very little resistance to the working person and a budding family from here in perpetuity. There will be no stopping it. And just think if every family in America had to have the vaccination. Just think about that. And let's just put a let's just I don't know what vaccinations cost. But if you just threw a number out there, I'm a I'm an old man and I have never had the flu shot in my life and I have never been sick a day of my life. There is no cure for COVID 19. Vaccine is the mark of the beast. Well, you just said a whole mouthful. I'm old too, and I've been sick. Uh, I've had the flu. Uh, I'm questioning COVID 19, and I'm with you on the whole mark of the beast thing. I'm with you. And usually I would be like, mark of the beast, that's a little too much. But it's the way that they're doing it. The way that they're doing it is so suspect. The COVID 19 is suspect. It just is. All of a sudden, George Floyd dies and there's no social distancing. And then everything all of a sudden opens up. Uh, Nobody's getting arrested for social distancing. Everything opens up. It's just weird to me. But yes, so I just wanted to give you that information about vaccination because it has already hit this area, not with people happening to go and do the whole COVID 19 thing, but for people to get vaccinated and their children, that is that is already a thing here. My neighbors went through that, and the mother works at the hospital. The father works at a warehouse. He didn't have to get vaccinated, but his newborn did, or no daycare. So she's vaccinated, and the two kids are vaccinated, and it made them sick, and it made him sick too. So it's a thing. It's a real thing, and I hope I don't know, cover that as much as possible, Tony. There's just so much information about this topic, especially being that it is one of the five biggest topics because of COVID-19 and what the federal government's involvement in COVID-19. It just seems like this whole thing is a chess game. It's really what it is. It's just all playing out like a game of chess. It's not even. It seems almost unreal, surreal, or whatever. It just it just can't be this cut and dry. But the way the governments are all, yeah, yeah. The Tuskegee was mandatory, but it was only mandatory for the African Americans, and it was to test syphilis, and they wanted to see how long somebody could, live with it and how they would die from it. Now, they could have tested a lab rat. Okay, so let's do this. My degree is in health administration, but I took some anatomy classes because I like to study the body. You know, now when I was studying the body, we studied the corpus callosum, which uh, is also called the small brain. When you study the corpus callosum, you find out, for one, the one that you're actually studying isn't human. It's the corpus callosum of a sheep. So there are animals and there are other species out there that mimic the DNA of a human, either in one part or another. They did not have to use African Americans to find out what would happen if they did not treat them with syphilis. They did it to torture them. And we've seen that over and over again. So basically, what happened I think it was like 68 people, men, all men that were injected with syphilis. And let me back up again here too. The Dutch did the same thing with, I don't know if they were Congolese, but they were Africans, and the Dutch went and uh, did the same thing with AIDS, except it wasn't called AIDS; it was something else. But they told these village people that it was an inoculation, that they were trying to help them, and so you should take this. And so all the people there, they lined up, and they were all given AIDS. Well, it would end up turning into AIDS, but the Dutch knew that it would happen. They knew this, and of course, AIDS killed 35 million people. The Tuskegee experiment was an experiment like that one. Let's try it on black people, because we want to eradicate them anyway. So when they did this, I don't know all the details, but I think it was like 68 people or something like that. They found out that syphilis kills you in a few ways, but one thing syphilis does is it turns your brain black. And I don't mean black like my skin. I mean black. And that, I mean, living through that, it's got to be one of the worst things that you can ever do to a human being, to any creature. I wouldn't wish that on a lab rat. I really wouldn't. I just would not wish that on any creature. That is horrible. I seen the results of syphilis. It was just unreal, and it turned their brains black. Like it was eating their brains, people. Uh, I don't even know how to process such a thing at a very slow rate. It's just horrible. Anyways, read up on the Tuskegee experiment. But like I said, these type of projects um, have been going on with Black people. There have been projects going on ever since we've been here, even before we got here. You know, with Leopold, Leopold killed 15 million Africans, so he was Dutch. So it's just, I mean, it's just what they do, you know. And the Dutch, if you don't know, they're the ones that own the diamond mines, De Beers, and they are all in Nigeria right now. But the diamond mines are drying up, but they pay. I mean, you got 9 and 10-year-olds working with their fathers making $1 a day, and then you're going and buying these stupid diamonds. Not me, not me. It's just ridiculous. All because of some commercial that was made in the 40s talking about diamonds are a woman's best friend. And if you love her, you go buy her a diamond, which you pay 20% of your yearly salary. That's what they expect you to pay when you walk into one. Oh, we're getting married. 20% of your yearly salary is going to go on whatever rock that you're going to choose. It's intrinsically worthless, not unless you want to cut something open. So, no. Anything else you want to talk about, Tony, or anyone else? Anybody else got a subject matter they wish to chat about? A whole stupid commercial was made by the beer. So did Hitler. Okay, so Hitler. Okay, for one, Europe was not all white at any point. Europe has never been an all white piece of land. Never, not once. A lot of people who were French, who were Russians, um, uh, who were in England, from England, even American. They were black people. The first president of the United States was a black man, John Gray. Okay, if you look at France's history, you can you look back to when is it that they went to war? They were always fighting with England. Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc was swarthy. She was a darker skinned woman. That's what swarthy is. Joan of Arc was swarthy. Okay, she wasn't some white woman running around looking crazy. She was a black woman. She wasn't very pretty, but she was a black woman. The Last King of Scotland. Why was the Last King of Scotland played by Forrest Whitaker? Because he was black. So you had kings and queens that were all over. Listen, there were emperors in Roman emperor is a Roman emperor who was black. Matter of fact, he went and found Hannibal's bones and buried Hannibal in Rome. So there's just I mean, this concept that Europe or European is all white is just completely wrong, on every level. Hitler had colored troops, just like America had colored troops. Hitler's colored troops, okay, for one, before Hitler had his colored troops, Hitler had a problem with black people, but he never tortured them. Not that, to my knowledge. He probably, had a couple of them beat up for one reason or another, but Hitler had an issue with the Senegalese. And the reason why he had an issue with the Senegalese, because they were fighting a war for uh, they were fighting a war for Hitler's country, Germany, and what happened was Senegalese are very tall people. Netherlands are wild. Senegalese are very tall African people, and the white women, looked at them and was just like, "I want a piece of that." So Hitler was like, with the whole pure race and this, that, and the third, wasn't too happy about that. But he couldn't stop the, I don't know, natural reaction of attraction. He just couldn't stop it. And I used to live in Germany. And when I went there, I had heard about, the white women liking black men. But for one, I didn't know this information about the Senegalese. I am 6'2", you know what I'm saying? Very dark skin. And at that time, I was maybe 200 pounds, probably under that, 180, 190, running all the time, very athletic. So it didn't take no time before a German woman hit on me, you know. And I'm thinking, just some German woman hit on me. No, there's a whole history to that whole thing. But nonetheless, Hitler had colored troops fight for him as well. And I've told this to somebody before and they didn't believe me, but you can go ahead and look it up. Hitler didn't hate black people. He just didn't like them mixing with white people. Please tell your viewers about the Moors and how they conquered most of Europe. The Moroccans, the seafaring Moroccans. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I know bits and pieces of the Moors and the Christian War because it was a holy war, is what it was. But the Moors were mathematicians and they were seafaring and they traveled across vast bodies of water. They were very, very smart. And they were part of the holy wars with the so called Christians at the time. And they would often clash with the Christians, basically, over churches and okay, so I'm trying to bring this into not Constantinople, but not Constantinople. No, 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 no. I'm trying to, because that's different. That was between the Romans and the Constantinople, Istanbul, between the not the no, that's Russia. That's the Tsar. Is between Constantinople was damn it, I forgot the guy's name. Anyways, they were Turks. Turks. They were Turks. The Moors, the Moroccans, fought against the Christians trying to get this all together. I'm trying to figure out what war it was because they fought against them in a couple wars. Okay, so King Richard the Lionheart fought against. I think he's the one. Okay, King Richard the Lionheart fought against Saladin in the Holy City of Jerusalem, and they actually defeated them, but he couldn't hold the land. When did they fight against the Moroccans? That wasn't till years later. Was that after Rome conquered Jerusalem in 14? No, Rome conquered Jerusalem, and that's where I come from. That's where my people come from. Rome conquered Jerusalem. 1.5 million Jews fled out of Jerusalem, but Jerusalem was, I'm sorry, fled out of, yeah, yeah. And once they fled out, okay, so Rome conquered Jerusalem. When Jerusalem was conquered, the Jews fled into Africa. They crossed the Red Sea, fled into Africa. Rome couldn't hold Jerusalem. So they left, marched back to Rome, and but they were defeated by Saladin. Saladin is a Kurd, I believe. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong. He is from Kadar. So they came into Jerusalem, and that's why you see them in there today. And built their, they changed the, the buildings and everything, and they changed them into synagogues. So they came in. King Richard the Lionheart came back to try to take back the holy city, with the Crusades, and he was egged on by the Pope. Now, if I'm wrong, I don't mind being wrong. He was egged on by the Pope and I think it was the Magna Carta. But the Pope really wanted the Roman army out of Rome because that's where all the power was. It was all a political thing. The Pope had he would even, some emperors, there was one emperor that went to actually assassinate a Pope because he was uh, extradited. You're no longer the emperor, yada, yada, yada. Nonetheless, so the people who are in Jerusalem today are not the Jews that originally were there. Jerusalem was divided. The east and the west was divided. And when they were divided, they started to fight amongst each other. And you know what happens when you fight amongst each other, you can easily get invaded. Nonetheless, when they lost against the Romans, the reason why they fled is because the Romans were eating people. They were. They were eating people, and they were killing people in mass numbers in the most heinous ways. So they fled, and when they fled into Africa, they were captured by the Egyptians. When the Egyptians got a hold of them, they put them in slavery. But the Egyptians had the same problem as the so called European has today with us, our numbers. They see how the Egyptians saw how quickly the numbers of the Jews would just how they multiplied. They just saw that there was large families, and just like boom, there's just so many of them. So eventually, the whole let my people go, and boom, they were finally let go. Now when they were let go, they crossed the Red Sea and they walked around what mountain was that? I keep want to say Ararat, but it wasn't Mount Ararat. Mount Ararat is where Moses' boat was found. It was Mount Sinai for 40. So they walked around Mount Sinai for 40 years, and God had them walk around Mount Sinai for 40 years because he wanted to get rid of all of the soldiers. And when the last soldier died, then they went into the land of Canaan. Like I said, somebody can correct me. But while they were marching around, is it Mount Sinai? Yeah, it was near the Red Sea. You got to understand that Red Sea at the time was not even close to being as big as it is now. Of course, it's constantly expanding. It's going out like this, and at one time it wasn't even a Red Sea because the Earth was a Pangea. So it was easy to cross there. But nonetheless, when you look in the book of Deuteronomy and you read about, the 250,000 plus, there was more than that. But you read, about all the people who were there. There was a bunch of them. God would often tell them while they were walking around the mountain to do not disturb the people who were in the mountain. Now, the people who were in the mountain, they were a special people. They weren't necessarily God's people, but they were God's tool. God used those people to kill, basically. Now, uh, God said the Ammonites live in the mountains and do not go up there because I'm not going to give you any other land. He said, don't go up there and disturb with them. But God allowed trading with them. Just in case you don't know, there's a global currency reset happening very soon. Please advise your advisors to get ahead of the game and get ready for the wealth of time. Well, I don't understand that. You would have to expound on that yourself, and I can try to educate myself on what you're saying. I mean, for one, I believe there's a global currency already happening. Like I said, I used to live in Germany. And when I lived in Germany, we had the mark, the German Deutschmark. The Deutschmark was always compared to the dollar because it was worth more than a dollar. So when the value of the Deutschmark would go up, like maybe once a weekend or something like that, we would all go shopping. Or I'm sorry, when it would go down, that means the dollar went up. We would all take the dollar and go shopping, or we'd take the Deutschmark and go shopping. So, there was a big numbers that were on the side of one of the walls at a base, and we would drive past it and look at it every day and see what the value of the dollar to what was the value of the Deutschmark, you know, and that would tell us how to go shopping and when to go shopping. Uh, but now you notice that everything is used by the euro. Everything in Europe is used by the euro. So that is the currency of trade. Then you have Bitcoin, and there is more than one Bitcoin. I mean, there are some people who have their own Bitcoin. Akon is one of the people. Akon also has his own town. So the people in his town trade with his money. Just in case you guys didn't know that. Oh, the dark web. I don't even look at the dark web. But so a global currency, I think it's going to be digital. We all seen what Bitcoin can do, but here's the problem with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has to be mined, but it has to be data mined. So you have to set up large, well, you have to have yourself a damn good computer with a high processor and, yada, 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 to try to data mine this Bitcoin. So you have people who have large processors going all the time trying to data mine this Bitcoin. Not everybody is going to have access to that. So that's going to create a problem for people like myself who, I am considered a poor person, you know, according to the government. I'm poor. So I can't afford a super server or anything of the like. All of these Bitcoins, even the dollar, the euro, and all of that, to me, they're trial and error systems. I'm not Warren Buffett, so I can't speak extensively on money. I can only speak on my experience with money. And when I look at the financial system and how it was broken, and it seems to be cyclical, it seems to be timely anywhere from, 9/11 to now. When I look at the system and then I look at the trillions of dollars that goes out and trying to fix a system that we seem to keep breaking, I'm wondering how they're going to fix it. When AIG gave out all those bailouts to all of these companies, of course, you had people who were ripping off the system. One of those was Red Cross, ripping off the system. Another one was building number 7, downtown New York, ripping off the system. So I'm saying all that to say America is their own worst enemy, but the way the financial system is built, it doesn't seem stable. So I can understand preparing for, the future shock of a financial system that is more stable, a oneness in the financial system. I can understand the goal of that from a consumer's point of view. I can understand the need not to trade different monies. When you go into France, you bring the American dollar, they hand you French money. So I can understand the, what I'm saying, the need for that exchange not to happen and to even go paperless. I can understand that 100% because, of counterfeiting and things along that line. However, wherever there's money, there is a will to copy, there's a will to duplicate it and to rip off the system. It's just no matter how big it is, somebody is always on the inside who's going to beat the system. And when they do beat the system, it always hurts the poor because money is finite. It's not something that can just be handed out. It can't be printed just willy nilly, or the value of it goes down. Here's a case in point. Mansa Musa was the richest man ever. It wasn't Bill Gates or one of these oil tycoons. It was a black man named Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was so rich that wherever he went, including Timbuktu, he would have large parades that went with him. I think until he went to Mecca. I think he went there with a small attachment. But and he would go into different lands and parts of people's countries, but he would distribute on his way to these countries. He would distribute so much gold that the actual value of gold decreased. That's a lot of gold. But he was so doggone rich that it actually was starting to hurt the value, the financial system. Of course, gold is still worth a lot today, but when everybody has it, it's not just not worth as much. So I think the financial system is going to have a major overhaul, and I think a lot of it's going to be digital. You can already pay with Apple, this and Apple that. We've already seen that going on. We know people can swipe with their arms because they have stuff in their arms, and they can just pay at the register with just a dude. And it looks fancy, but it's not for me. But I can also see the dangers in every type of currency in any type of way they want to have currency. Any shape, form, or fashion. I can always see somebody going in and hurting the small person, by being greedy. You know, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Anything else? Oh, if you can, get your hands on some gold or silver. Now, I do want to say this. Every now and then, I watch Netflix, and they got interesting stuff on there. One thing I saw on there that was very interesting was the Doomsday Preppers. Very interesting people. One of them had mentioned because he bought himself a trailer, you know, that sits on the back of a tractor trailer. He bought one of those and he buried it, and then he made a home inside of it just in case, because he thinks that there's a large flood coming. But one way he traded for it was he had gold. He had gold 50, it looked like $50, or, you know, they were bigger than a quarter. You ever seen the 50-cent piece? Where he had those and they were solid gold. And he traded six of them for the trailer. So it just gives you an idea how much it was worth. Now, he also said if you have quarters, some of your quarters are actually real nickel, or I'm sorry, real silver. So he was saying that the value of, you know, the quarter is not just 25 cents. He's like, not if it's real silver. Now, I don't know how to tell real silver from coated nickel, or, whatever this is. But he was looking at regular quarters and he could tell if some of them were real and some of them weren't. So you might have some value in your pocket that you don't even know about. Because I didn't know about it until I saw what he was talking about. But I don't know what's real and what isn't. I would have to get a scale or something and start weighing it out and things along those lines. So, anybody got any other topic before I go? No? Okay. I need to learn more about Morocco. I used to have a sub. He was from Morocco. Well, all right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and go. And I thank you guys for stopping by. You guys take it easy. God loves you, and so do I.